Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and this is Wise Women Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on what's most important for you right now. So I encourage you to stick around. These are really powerful, meaningful messages. I can feel the energy before I've even begun and it's truly amazing. So I imagine it will land for you and you came here for a reason today. So I first encourage you to like, subscribe if you haven't already, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new video pops up. Become a part of this community. It's a good time, trust me. And if you want to get to know more about me, my work, personal readings, you can check out those details below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. And of course, if you want to visit my other channels and communities and subscribe there too, please do check out Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Television, again, both of which are linked below. Without further ado, I will place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from today. You are choosing from left to right. Card pile 1. What is most important for you right now? All right, card pile 1. I feel like you have been distracting yourself in some ways. I feel like maybe you were telling yourself it was a rest period or stuff that you needed or needed to do, or like you needed a timeout or something like that. And it doesn't mean that that's not true, because I feel, not only do I feel something else coming, but there's a card of rest in your column. So I just haven't gotten there yet. So it is relevant to rest, but here's the thing. There's a matter of self-honesty here, you know, and I think you might even already know this. Some of you know what you're doing, you know very well what you're up to. And I feel like you might, again, tell yourself you need a break or whatever, but it's really just either escape or a cop-out or self-sabotage, where you're putting off the necessary things that are actually important to you. Because here's the deal. We have a self-employment card. And so what that means for me are a few different things. Either you haven't focused on a project that is important to you or a priority. For many of you, I am feeling this is job related, which could be as a result of all the things that have happened in the past couple of years. This is a timeless reading, but right now we're in 2021. And so some of you might have lost a job or are looking for a job or are starting your own business or in a plateau of your business or unsure of where to go or what's next. And it's saying to get focused on that. And it's not necessarily this warning of like, you better do it or else. It's more of like, this is what you want and this is important to you and it's a priority. So get focused. Focus on that project. Focus on that income stream. Focus on bringing money or abundance into your world, into your reality. Focus on your business. Focus on launching your business. So it's going to land differently for each of you, but it's basically saying get focused on the thing that you need to focus on and not let all this other BS get in the way. Because again, for some of you, you've been telling yourself you needed a timeout or needed a rest. That might be valid, but it doesn't feel like you're filling your time or filling your cup with restorative or renewing or rejuvenating kinds of activities. It feels like scrolling on social media, you know, who knows what else. Like it doesn't even feel like it's maybe constructive, productive, nourishing in any way. So again, that's why it feels more of avoidance than it is an actual resting period, because you're not actually engaging in things that support your refueling and renewal, right? So if you were engaged in things that were truly reconnecting you and refueling you, that would be different, as opposed to a clear avoidance when those are the times where we're sort of maybe eating more than usual or drinking more than usual or watching more TV or scrolling social media, bing, bing, bing. That's our sign we're in avoidance of something. And I feel like for some of you, you know this, you're aware, you're honest with yourself. You're like, I know I'm not focusing on that and I know I need to, but I don't want to, or I haven't, or I don't know where to go from here. I don't have clarity. We might have more messages on the clarity piece as we move forward, but one way or the other, you have sort of debris or confusion or uncertainty or chaos or whatever in your field. And again, some of you, that's distractions and distracting activities like we talked about. For some of you, I feel like it's your mental chatter. It's your mental voices. You know, it's like the angel and the devil on the shoulder, and you have the devil in the tarot base that's over here saying, this isn't going to work anyway, or this is stupid, or I don't like it, or I don't want it, or it's too hard, or it's not going to happen, or it's not going to pay off, or it's not going to work. or whatever, whatever form that takes for you, you're going to know, because as soon as I say it, you're like, oh yeah, I do that. There's some kind of mental distraction, mental numbing, mental chatter that is clouding your vision and making it feel difficult or impossible to move forward, to do what you need to do, to focus on what you need to. It's saying, instead of focusing on all that mental chatter and mental BS or all these other things, focus on what you actually want, which is an income or money or abundance or a job or a career or launching your business or returning to the activities of your business, and doing so with a focused, clear, ready, willing embodiment, as opposed to, again, that avoidant energy of, not wanting to touch it, not wanting to get near it. Because the message here is, then if you're not wanting to get touched or get near it, there's something, a feeling probably, something that you're avoiding or ignoring. Something inside of you is asking for attention. Is it an old fear, doubt, inner child, a part of you that needs tending to, that needs to be heard and acknowledged or soothed? You need to tell yourself the words that you need to hear, that you want to hear. I talk about a lot of different kinds of inner work, inner child work, shadow work on this channel. You're going to find bits and pieces all over many different readings. So you can always check out other readings to get a deep dive on some of those methodologies. There are inner child readings on here, shadow work readings on here, limiting belief readings on this channel. And then I offer a lot nuggets and many, many readings. But my point here is, whatever it is you need to face that, take a look at it and be honest about what is it that you're avoiding. Like, go inside and ask yourself, what am I really avoiding here? See what comes up, write it down. And that way, when you go to distract yourself with social media or avoid the meeting or the email or whatever it is that's going on in your world, avoiding applying, avoiding answering the interviewer, whatever it is in your world that's going on in terms of this or this project or this deadline, and you're avoiding it, look at that piece of paper so you can just look at it and get to know, this is what I'm avoiding. Sometimes, first of all, you have to allow that answer to come up from your own inner wellspring of wisdom. And usually it feels like it's coming up from inside of your body. If your mind says it, sometimes it's not accurate. It's just making its best guess. So you do want it to be something that's natural. And if you really don't know, you could tune into yourself and into your body as best you can. Find a way to create safety within yourself. Have a friend hold space for you. Have someone, a support system of some kind, therapist, mentor, counselor, healer, teacher, guide, hold some space for you. We were able to really tap into yourself and feel into the emotions and feelings that are there, so that you can see then what is needed, right? Because maybe there's a trapped emotion in there, or there's fear or guilt or sadness or longing or grief or something that needs to be explored, that will often have a wisdom, a message, information, guidance, truth, something to be revealed, something to support you on your path toward greater clarity, toward where it is that you want to go, toward what needs to be done or what needs to be revealed, had, experienced, whatever. It's not always a cut and dry formula. It's a matter of really connecting with ourselves, building that relationship with ourselves and those parts of ourselves, so we can get to know all the parts of ourselves and what their drives are, what their motives and needs are, how we can assure them, reassure them, support them. Because again, there might be a part of you that's an inner child that's just feeling scared, or they're fearful of success or fearful of failure. It's usually not that broad. It's usually pretty specific and specific to you and your experience. But again, once you know that, you're able to soothe yourself more easily, know exactly what you're avoiding, and get more focused and down to business while continuing to soothe and nurture yourself along the way. But you are being asked to focus on what you know you need to focus on, put everything else aside. And it doesn't mean, again, for those of you who don't have clarity, it's saying that is the story that you want to shelve, because it's saying you know what you need to focus on, so just do it. And if you genuinely feel like you don't have clarity, number one, it's probably a story, put it on the shelf. But also go in then and build that relationship with yourself and see what's saying that to you. What's the source of that story? What's the source of that truth? Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, so go into that. Where do you feel that in your body? And how does that feel? And what is it saying? Even as I do that and I connect to that, knowing that most of us have the same or similar parts, I start feeling like a really uncertain little girl in there who's really scared to move forward and doesn't know if she has the right answer. And she might get, she's scared that she might get the wrong answer or do the wrong thing. And then everything's going to come crumbling down and it's her fault. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, if we can go in and nurture those parts of us, we can kind of create this even emotional release. And I even feel some emotion moving for me. So I would imagine that's there for you as well. Card pile 1, do that inner work. And when you're avoiding, taking a good direct look at what you're avoiding, seeing where you find that in your body, finding that part of yourself that needs nurtured, soothing, attention, acknowledgement, support, seeing what it might reveal to you, and then moving forward with that wisdom. Okay? Yeah, because it's saying true rest. Okay, so the difference between avoidance and say rest, like, oh, I am taking some time off, or I'm taking a vacation, is when it's rejuvenating and renewing and nourishing and connecting. If it's just like the scrolling on social media into numbness and grayness and flatness, that's really not rest. So there's a message here of really staying focused, and not just focused on the thing, right? Shelving all the thoughts or ideas about what's wrong and what's not going to happen, shelving all of that and just doing and showing up and doing what you need to do. But there's all this message of staying positive and asking, and this isn't a bypassing thing, right? Because we talk about what you do when the other kinds of feelings pop up. You go in, you connect with yourself, you nurture yourself, you build that relationship, you tend to that relationship just like you would with your children, with your colleagues, with your coworker, with your partner, with your lover. Do the same exact thing. And then once there's some kind of appeasement or satisfaction or completion or completeness there, then you go back into choosing positivity, choosing faith, choosing that higher frequency of an outlook, right? There's a certain mindset of assuming success, assuming everything's going to be okay, assuming safety, and basically staying positive, right? Because the difference here is that when you are in avoidance, it's all like, oh, remember we talked about this is not going to work out, or it's not going to happen for me, or what's the point, or I don't want to, or I don't want to, or blah, blah, blah. I don't have the energy, I don't have the time, I don't have the motivation, that's stupid. Look, all that stuff that we can kind of get into in our mind, and it's saying, you know, it's coming into a more positive mindset. I get to do this. And sometimes as we nurture ourselves, this might not feel true, but we can find one that does feel true and work to sort of connect with that frequency more and more. So it's like, I get to do this. I am excited about this. And if you're not even there yet, there's not a statement that is true for you or ringing true, explore it with curiosity. What would get me really excited to do today? What would get me really curious to move toward today? What would really move me today? What would I be really excited to share and do today, right? Where you start getting exploratory with it, curious about it, in a way that you can start to align with a higher frequency. Curiosity, asking questions, exploring another mindset tends to work well or better than just trying to assume I'm positive or, you know, I'm excited today. Well, if you're not, that's not going to feel right. So you could do the inner child work, go in and see the part of you that's not excited, soothe, connect, nurture, and then come out or even ask your inner child what would excite you today, what would thrill you today. But again, we're doing it that same way. So it's not like we're bypassing, but we're finding a way to work with ourselves, build and nurture a relationship and connection with ourselves, so we can bring ourselves up into those higher frequencies and vibrations toward the successes that we're seeking. Because the card pile 1, you are seeking more success, more abundance, job, career, something around that, a project, the success of a project, recognition of a project. You are seeking something. And it's like that abundance is going to happen when you're in a more positive mindset and have a positive outlook. Let me see what else wants to come through here. I do feel like the nurturing yourself, taking care of yourself, the inner child work is crucial and paramount for this group. And it's a part of your work right now. What's most important to you is staying focused on what you need to focus on, while also nurturing the parts of you that require that nurturing as you go, that reparenting, that remothering. Okay, so let's see what else is coming up here. So I feel like for some of you, what's been holding you back is something outside of you, external to you. Now, I do feel like, obviously, we talked about the mental chatter, we talked about the excuses and the rationales and all the reasons why you can't and don't want to and all that stuff. But I feel like that's a reflection of what's happening. I feel like is you're seeing other people or seeing them succeed, or you're seeing them say something, or people are telling you something. You might be getting into that state of comparison or looking around and focusing on what you aren't, or what you don't have, or what you can't do, or what hasn't happened for you or hasn't happened for you yet. And that's bringing you down. There is a message here about focusing more on you. And again, bringing that focus in and your objective, your goals, your aspirations, and sort of being oblivious to anyone or anything else that's around you. There's some focus that's wanted here, and some recognition that those other paths really don't speak to you and aren't relevant, and all they do is bring you down. There is another message here, and I want to see if I can connect with it. If not, I'll take a moment to meditate or contemplate. Yeah, this is stepping into your personal power, seeing your own worth, seeing your own value, your own voice, your own servicehood, like whatever it is that you do, your life path, your life purpose, your purpose work, your career, your job, the way that you do it, the way that you show up. There's something here about owning it, owning your path, owning your voice, owning your message, owning your work, owning what you do, how you do it, how it's different. It's like, as opposed to seeing this as yet another opportunity to feel insecure and doubt yourself and then disconnect from yourself and hide away from yourself and then avoid the project, the application, the job, the interview, the business activities, all that stuff. Instead of using all the insecurity as a path toward greater insecurity and ultimately giving up or resignation, it's like using that, your differences, as an opportunity to own who you are and let it be a source and portal toward greater confidence, as opposed to insecurity or self-doubt. Your differences are what make you unique, are what make you shine. Write those differences down, card pile one. The things that you're insecure about, and I actually have my clients do this a lot in a lot of my programs, is write the things down that they are insecure about, and then ask how they can make that sort of a PowerPoint. How can they make that their shtick? How can they make that something that is unique to them? How can they use that for more, for better, for greater abundance? Use that difference, as opposed to making it something that's bad or wrong or problematic about you, making you want to hide and just forget it. And this person does it better and they get more success and they've got it quicker and all the things. It's like, no, like, this is me and this is how I've done it and I like it like this, because ultimately we have to take responsibility for our choices. We've chosen where we're at now, one way or the other, subconsciously or otherwise. We've chosen it. So it's like, own that shit. Own who you are, right? Own that. Own who you are, own your differences, own your uniqueness, own your own authenticity. And this is what's going to help you shift from that focus outward that leads to insecurity, self-doubt, apathy, resignation, and use it as an opportunity to own yourself, to increase personal power, to expand your confidence. Now, I am going to take one more moment here to see if anything else wants to come up for you, card pile one. The final couple of messages are around seeing how you, again, add value to the community, the greater collective, the greater community. How do you do it different? What role are you playing? What voice are you giving voice to? Just to start building some significance and awareness around the significance of your particular role as compared to others. And just, again, this is all about staying in your lane. Stay in your lane, baby. Instead of focusing on these other lanes and then wondering why you're too fast, too slow, too here, too there, up, down, black, white, red, gray, like, oh, I have this color and they have that color. I have a Ford and they have this. It's like, well, just stay in your lane, right? So there's that. There's also this message around when it comes to these fears of failure and fears of success, there might be a deeper ingrained pattern here or wound, specifically up the paternal side or father line. Of course, this isn't going to be the case for everyone. As I'm saying that, I'm feeling some people, this is more past life or past generations or ancestors. Some of you, it's going to be relevant today, or at least in your life. But it's saying anything that has occurred in your life history is likely significant in some way in terms of an old pattern or a generational pattern or something like that. And you might explore your fear of success and fear of failure and your pride and how you identify with success and failure. That might be something you explore in terms of your greater healing on this path, because there's something here. And remember, it comes to your avoidance and it comes to your resignation and ultimately giving up and saying, F it, forget it, never mind. And then you don't even want to turn back to whatever this is. There's something here in terms of pride and identifying with success or failure. And there's a wounding there. And you might explore touching into that wound. And again, nurturing that part of yourself in all the ways that we already talked about, getting to know that part of yourself, building a relationship with that part of yourself. So that way you can all the parts of yourself move forward together. with this focus, with this positive outlook, with this assumption that all things are going to work out well, and with this awareness of your own personal power and value. So card pile 1, this was your reading. I encourage you to like, subscribe, press the bell icon if you haven't already. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, how I can support you, personal readings, you can check out those details below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. Last but not least, if you enjoy this kind of content, I encourage you to check out and add yourself to my other communities on Psychic True Crime, one channel, and the other is Wise Women Television, both of which are linked below. Thank you, card pile 1. Card pile 2. What should you be focusing on right now, or what's most important for you to focus on right now? So right away, it's talking about liberating yourself from old mindsets or assumptions or beliefs in scarcity, or that you can't have it, or that you won't have it. I also feel a connection to the energy of being scared to receive, being scared to have it all, to hold it all. You're being reminded that it's safe for you to receive. Now, I feel like you don't feel like it's safe because in your history, whether this was past life, this feels like childhood for most of card pile 2, but if it wasn't childhood for you when I'm speaking about it, please know that it can come down the ancestral line and that it can come through energetically, through the DNA, and through previous lifetimes. So FYI, but it feels like perhaps there wasn't a lot of love given in your family, or perhaps there wasn't a lot of emotional nourishment or emotional support. Perhaps you were the one to be the one to say, oh no, you can have the last roll, you can have the last green bean. Why don't you take the bed? I'll take the couch. So there might be that history of martyrdom or self-sacrifice, but really it's that people pleasing and seeking approval, where it just became this habit or pattern where you weren't used to receiving. You're used to more, card pile 2. You're used to being in a deficit. You're used to being in deprivation. You're used to being in a space of not having enough, having to fend for, fight for, survive, fight to survive, do what you must do to take care of yourself, pick up your big boy or girl pants and move the F on. Like, that's the energy here of like deficit, deprivation. You're used to that energy. You're not used to having a full tank, and you're not used to having an overflow of abundance. So I feel like it can be scary for you to receive more love, and love in any form, to experience love, generosity, compassion, support, hand-holding, caretaking, any kinds of like loving words and gestures, money, material abundance, even some of you, great job opportunities or promotions, or for you to be recognized or valued, or for you to receive a higher paycheck or higher amount of money or whatever. It's like your baseline, or your, what do they call that? Set point is at deficit or deprivation. And yet what you want most, your inner child wants most, is to be loved, is to be held, comforted, soothed, nourished, taken care of, provided for, partnered with, held, assured. What your inner child wants most is to be able to receive love. You've worked really, really hard, card pile 2. Like, you've done the work, you put in the time in it. And the reason I know that is because you tend to operate in deficit and deprivation, which means you have likely been a workaholic at times or in the past. And if you weren't, you were someone, though, oftentimes who would go the extra mile or do the extra thing, because if you weren't being loved, this kind of personality tends to then prove their worth, prove their value to receive that love or approval. But usually it's working for breadcrumbs, working for morsels. You get like a drop of water in a desert and you're like, okay, well, I guess that was something, but it's not quite enough. But this is all you, and this is about you moving that set point. What are you to focus on is to start moving that set point. And this is going to be something that you have to do every day. So you wake up and you say, what kind of wealth, love, and abundance do I want to experience today? And this almost makes me cry for you all, okay? And I relate to it. I connect with this message too. Not that it's my pile. I choose a pile after. But I can always relate a little bit to each of the piles because they're ultimately all us, right? All reflections of us. You guys could listen to every single pile, and more than likely 90% of them would land for you in some way. That's just how it all works. But anyway, Ask yourself, what wealth, love, and abundance would I like to receive today? And then I want you to practice it. I want you to practice receiving the form that you ask for, because a part of this is you just getting in the habit of the practice of receiving. It's just not a habit for you. This is about you getting in the habit of the frequency, the feel of what it's like to receive. So you might say, you know what, the kind of wealth, love, and abundance I want to experience today is more time for myself. So I'm going to do blank today. Maybe I don't do that every day, but I'm doing that today. And the next day you wake up and you'd say, what kind of wealth, love, and abundance do I want to experience today? You might say, I want to feel cherished. I want to feel cherished. And so you're going to find ways to make yourself feel cherished, and you're going to allow people to cherish you. If someone shows up at the gas station and holds the door open for you, let them cherish you. If you go up to Starbucks and someone pays for your coffee, all right, cherish yourself by taking that first parking spot. Cherish yourself by prioritizing yourself first, making yourself a beautiful meal, but you cherish yourself. The next day you wake up and you say, what kind of wealth, love, and abundance do I want to experience today? And you say, I want to experience spiritual connection, or it could be money. And so you focus on those things where it's like that so that's some things. Sometimes I can't get it out, all the different ideas that are coming through at the same time. So excuse me. So sometimes, because I feel like where this is coming from, you guys see my trouble with this? People will say, oh, well, I can't control being cherished. Like, there's no way to control that. It's coming from somewhere else. Or I can't control getting money from someone else. Like, how am I going to control that? Right? And so you have to ask yourself how you might cherish. What kinds of money producing activities would be really exciting for you? Or maybe you have other channels for receiving income, and all you have to do is put up a notice, or you have to go and sell a few things at a yard sale, whatever, right? To a degree, we can control that, and to a degree, we cannot. We leave, again, the rest up to the universe to provide, and we get in the habit of practicing that frequency, practicing giving to ourselves, because what we do, the universe will match. What we do, the universe will match. So as long as we can get in that vibe, we can get in that mood, if we can build that romance, with ourselves, basically, that's going to come back to us. And again, it might be in small ways in the beginning. Someone holding open the door for you, someone paying for your coffee at Starbucks, like we said, but really relishing in those, savoring those opportunities. When someone at the grocery store offers to carry out your groceries to your car, and you might usually be the person to say no, Car Pal 2, you're going to say yes. So do you see what I'm saying? You're able to practice receiving wealth, love, and abundance in all of its forms, in the ways that are in your control, but you're also allowing yourself to savor and cherish those experiences that do come from other people, and then those experiences will increase. But it's a matter of putting yourself first. There was another message that was coming through there, and like I said, I was having trouble articulating everything that was coming through at once, so let me see if I can connect with that again. So you're setting the intention every day to experience another new form of love, wealth, and abundance, and you're going to practice being that in that experience and cherishing yourself and offering yourself, okay, so this is what it is. It's going inside too, to that inner child, or that part of you that yearns for that love, that yearns for that abundance, and asking them how they would love to receive money today, right? If that's your example. And it might say, I want to go make a lemonade stand, go out and make that Mother Lovin' lemonade stand, right? Or it might say, I want to start a new job. So you might go out and get a second job. I mean, most people aren't going to choose that, but I'm saying you can check in with that inner child and that part of you that has felt neglected, ignored, overlooked, deprived, and deficit all of these years, and ask him or her or they, see what him, her, or they wants, see what your inner child wants from you. Ask them. Because the deeper you can go with yourself and build this connection relationship, the more you're going to sort of pull this subconscious force out of the subconscious and into conscious awareness, so that not only do you become whole, which is great for healing and ultimately what we're doing anyway, but it's going to support you to get all parts of you on board into this new receiving pattern. Because if it's just you up here consciously trying to manifest, trying to experience, trying to receive, and you're not really connecting the dots with your subconscious forces and influences, your inner child, the other parts of you that might still be scared or unsure, don't feel safe, if you're not bringing that safety in, that nurturing in, that acknowledgement, that checking in, all that stuff, it's going to be pretty difficult to manifest the things that you want, because that inner child might come out to tantrum, sabotage, react, create hostility. They might be the ones to be like, F this job, forget it, I'm walking away. That's kind of like Car Pile 1 vibes. You can check that out if that lands. This is about you breaking free from that pattern. It's going to require you to start loving yourself in all the ways that you would love to come to you, allowing yourself to have that love, nurturing yourself, helping yourself feel safe along the way. If you don't know how to do that, get the support, a teacher, a guide, a practitioner, healer, a professional, a coach. Get someone to support you in that. That way you can learn to find that safety, learn to connect with those parts, learn to deepen that relationship, so you can sort of, again, bring all those subconscious parts of you up into conscious awareness, and all of you are on the same page, working toward the same aspiration, same goal. Because ultimately those parts of you, as deprived as they might feel, what they want the most are these forms of love, but there has to be a relationship there, because if it's unknown, it will continue to lurk beneath the surface and exhibit control and influence in your life without your awareness, or a semblance of your awareness, but you're not really going to know for sure what it is or why. So you want to go in and you want to make that connection, make them a part of this practice, of this exercise, and really get to know the ways in which your inner child wants to experience love, wealth, and abundance today and every day. And you're going to practice that from every day forward, right? Comment below, what's your plan for today? What's your intention? How are you going to receive more love, wealth, and abundance today? Okay, so the next message is about doing things because you love it. And so I think for a long time, you were in the habit, or still in the habit, of doing things because you have to, or because you're supposed to, or because you should, or because that's the rule, or that's because that's the law, or because someone told you, or because you're conditioned to, and because you have to show up, and because you have to do this, all that stuff, the shoulds. And I feel like for a lot of you, this doesn't mean you guys haven't done the work. I feel like you have, but now you're facing pretty squarely in the face, like you can't miss it, some of your biggest conditioning or limits to date, and these will be the things that are going to set you free for the rest of your life. Like, you're doing the crux of your work. This is going to reveal all the abundance that you could have ever imagined or desired for yourself, but it's going to be through this work here. So you might have done some work up until now. It's all been relevant. it's all gotten you here, but this is like the root of the root, the bud of the bud, the most important thing you're going to hit upon. So this might have been a challenging time up until now for you, or at least lately. And so this is about getting past all those shoulds, even all the shoulds you didn't know you had, where you might think, oh, I don't really do that, or really looking at all the ways you're still operating in deficit and deprivation, and starting to choose things because you love it, because it's joy, because it brings abundance, because it feels abundant, because it feels light, fun, joyful. And this doesn't mean too, sometimes we do it because we love it, and there are things we have to do, like dishes and making dinner and taking care of our kids if you have a family, and going to work and clocking into our 9 to 5 or whatever. There's a lot of things that we have to do as humans that are required that might not necessarily be joyful to our minds. It usually would be if we were fully present and embodied in all of our moments, but we aren't. And so it's a matter of, okay, well, how can you make it fun? How can you make it joyful? And again, what are you going to do? Tap into your inner child, connect with that part of you. So, okay, I can tell that you feel really bored and mundane. Where do you feel that in your body? Put your hand there, connect with that part of you, and say, how can we make this really fun, light, and joyful today? What would make this really enjoyable for you? And really checking in again with those parts of you, giving them a voice, letting them be heard, letting their needs be acknowledged, letting their desires be honored. And you're going to start to not only build this relationship with yourself, or in all parts of yourself, step into significantly greater wholeness, bringing all these parts into conscious awareness, so that all of you are working toward your greater manifestations. But all of this is also going to support you to simply enjoy your life more. You're going to be significantly more satisfied and fulfilled, because life is good, because it feels good, because you feel alive, because you feel joy, because you're not just doing things because you have to, you're doing them because you want to get to, because you choose to experience joy. That's a part of it too, is we can choose to experience something with joy, or we can choose to experience it with misery. The thing that usually makes us miserable is our mindset, is our outlook, is our perception, our lens, our filter. If we tell ourselves we hate doing the dishes, we don't like the dishes, and we're never going to do the dishes, we probably aren't going to like the dishes and enjoy the dishes. You might say, again, either yourself, you might already know the answer, you go in and you ask that part of you that really hates doing the dishes, and you go to that part of you in your body. Like, I'm holding my solar plexus right now. You can find where you might feel it in your body. And if you don't have any idea, start with your heart, or your belly, and you just start somewhere, and you start developing these connections, and you say, okay, you really hate doing the dishes. And you might even acknowledge that. I know you totally hate doing the dishes, because you always hated the dishes, and you don't like doing the dishes. And you're offering acknowledgement. You're letting that voice be heard. Again, there might even be deeper anguish or pain there. that's related to the deficit, the deprivation, the martyrdom, the people pleasing. Okay, so you can go into that, allow that to be acknowledged, to be felt even. Emotions are sometimes released, old patterns and stories are released, memories sometimes too. But you go in and then you say, okay, what would make the dishes really fun for you? And see what comes up. Maybe it's that you blow bubbles while you do the dishes. Maybe it's you play music, or you have a glass of wine if you're above the drinking age. Whatever, right? But that inner child is going to guide you, and it's someone you can lean on, and they want you to just bring them on board as a part of your life. I feel like for many of you in card pile 2, you might not have been able to experience the innocence or experience of childhood, or follow or honor your desires, because you were so focused on people pleasing, on doing the right thing, on following the rules, on being that state of deficit, deprivation. And ultimately, what is in deficit or deprivation? It's your inner child. I mean, you are too, but if it started in childhood, then that pattern initiated there, and that part of you that is missing out and not experiencing that is your inner child, and that's the part to reconnect with. So let's see what else is happening here. What is most important for you right now? Here, what is clarifier for this card? Yeah, focusing on what you love instead of what you don't like. And if you don't like it, go within, check in with yourself, connect with yourself, and see how you might bring more joy into the experience, into the system, into the body. And some of you might need a foundation of safety and self-care in order to bring that about. Because again, this is about you not feeling safe to receive. So you might have to start in small ways. And that's why I said go within, make that connection with yourself, and see what it has to say. Because someone else saying, oh, I want a $10,000 day today, that could totally sabotage your whole world if you receive $10,000 and you feel unsafe to receive, right? So you start, it doesn't have to be small, but you start in the ways that your inner child is asking of you uniquely. It's not about anyone else or how they would do it. Okay. Yeah, so a giant portion of your life, your old patterns, your old experiences, childhood conditioning, you're in the process of leaving behind. So if you've been through a challenging experience or pivotal transformation, or something that feels like at times maybe it was a dark night of the soul, or intense, significant shadow work, or significant healing period, that's because you were in one and it's on its way out. You are passing through it, but you're passing through. Keep that in mind. It almost makes me feel emotional. When it feels like it's really dark, and it feels like you're alone or unsupported or isolated, or you don't know if you're ever going to get out or get through, and you don't know the way forward, remember, you're just passing through. This isn't your forever. You're not stuck here forever. You don't have to be in purgatory forever. This isn't your forever. This isn't your reality. You're just passing through. And when in doubt, go inside, connect in the ways that we talked about, get your information there, and then move on, move forward, implement that. This isn't about just getting stuck and stagnated in this deficit, in this deprivation, in this sort of cloud of whatever you've moved through over the last several years, this long healing period, or this could be, the course of your life so far. And if that's the case, this is all about regaining that connection with yourself and that building that relationship with yourself and all parts of yourself. So that way you're able to have clarity on how you want to move forward, what you actually desire, what truly brings you joy, what brings you into that state of experiencing more wealth, joy, and abundance. But you are leaving all of this behind. You are passing through. You aren't meant to hang on, to stick around, to get hooked into this. And if you feel like you are, now you know how to connect, get the insight to move forward, and to make sure that you are always moving forward after that connection with yourself. Otherwise, you can get stuck, and it can feel like quicksand, where you are sucked in and sucked under. Okay, so what are you to focus on right now? Okay, so this is also anything that you're consuming that can contribute to a lack mentality, scarcity, fear, anything that's fear-based, anything that sort of brings you down or brings your vibe down or brings your self-value down, your self-image down. You really need to nix this from your life. So card pile 2, it's like you're saying you want to receive more, and yet you're keeping maybe bloodsuckers, figuratively, leeches, parasites, parasitic energy or activities. You're keeping it in your life, and you're wondering, why don't I feel great? Where's my riches? Where's my abundance? Where's the love that I'm meant to have in my life? And it's like, well, you're hanging out with so-and-so still, or you have that job downtown still, or you're still seeing so-and-so, or you're taking those calls from aunt so-and-so, right? So, or you're on social media all the time and engaging in debates, or you're eating at McDonald's or fast food every day, right? So it's like, looking at all the ways that you have chosen impoverishment, scarcity, a lack of value, a lack of life affirming energy, where you have chosen deficit, deprivation, just a lack of care and priority and value for yourself, and seeing where you are creating that and perpetuating that. And again, beginning to break those bonds and really focus on, you're no longer like that. There's a different standard at this point, and deficit and deprivation, or a lack of nourishment, nutrition, nurturing, and all of that just simply isn't going to do. This is about, and again, it doesn't mean you can't do some of those things. Social media, fast food, like it's not one of those things where, oh, this is right, this is wrong, this is white, this is black, this is this, that is that. There's tons of gray, right? Because sometimes you're going to go in, your inner child's going to say, I want to go to McDonald's, and I want to eat, and I want to play in the play place. And if I can't, I want to go to an adult jungle gym or a trampoline park. That's fine. It doesn't always have to be over the top play either. Sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's journaling, sometimes it's going outside and in the wilderness and exploring the woods. Sometimes it's playing with your dog. But the point is, it's not like McDonald's is wrong, right? Because again, sometimes your inner child's going to say, let's just say F it and go to McDonald's, so that's okay. But it's a matter of, you're no longer not prioritizing yourself. You're no longer impoverishing yourself. You're no longer choosing deficit, deprivation, or even destruction. You're choosing something that is wealthy, loving, and abundant for you. So let's see if there's any final messages. Card pile 2, what is most important to focus on right now? It's allowing yourself to receive, practicing receiving in even the smallest of ways, and the ways that honor your truest desires and your deepest core needs. That's checking in and tuning in with all parts of yourself, including your inner child, finding the inner children by maintaining connection with your body, seeing where you might have uncomfortable feelings popping up, or anger, or when you find like you're avoiding things that you quote unquote should be doing, or you're upset you have to do the dishes, going into that part, connecting with that part, connecting with any emotions that are there, seeing what they might need, what they might want, what is revealed there, and then taking action based on that, moving toward more joy, positivity, doing what you love for the love of it, not because you have to or because someone told you to. And then more or less you're moving on. You're moving on. Whatever it is that you were healing from, transforming from, there were a lot of changes for you that brought you into this phase. Again, you are one who is doing the healing work. It's time to move on. And that. I don't feel like that's news to any of you, card pile 2. That it's time to move on, and you're moving into greater wealth, love, and abundance. So card pile 2, if this lands for you, I encourage you to like, subscribe, do share your story in the comments, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new video pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, personal readings, you can check out those details below, or visit erritygreen.com/shop. And I'd love to have you as a subscriber in my other communities on YouTube. You can check out my channels below, Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Television, and I will catch you here and there. Thank you, card pile 2. All right, card pile 3. What's most important for you to focus on right now? No kidding, you get a very clear focus on your priorities. Let's take a look. I don't always show the cards, sometimes I do, but I love that it's focus on your priorities. And the question for today is, what's important for you to focus on? It's focusing on your priorities. So what I'm getting here is I actually heard another reading yesterday, and if I knew who it was, I think it's Lexi the Leo, if you know her, I think. And I was reading or listening to one of her readings, and this is coming up, so I'm going to share it here, where she was talking about the bare necessities from Jungle Book. And she was saying, that song, bare necessities and Mother Nature's recipe. So it's like really focusing on the things that are necessary, the basics, the fundamentals, the bare necessities, and not much else. Meaning this isn't a time to rush into action or get scattered or chaotic or focus on a bunch of different projects and passions and hobbies and interests. This isn't a time to go overboard or into overkill or overwhelm. This is about focusing on what's important to you, what's most important to you, what's most nourishing for you, what lights you up, what moves you. It's like what's most important for you to focus on. It's about, I want to check in with the energy and get clear. 1 second. Okay, I got it. I just needed a second. So, and sometimes I need the words too. I did a whole thingamajig on card pile 1 trying to find my words, and that was a joke. But anyway, so I feel like you're wanting something to work out. You're wanting something to happen. You're wanting something to manifest. You're wanting something to come about, to come to fruition, to see a result. There's something you've been waiting on or working on. There's something you've been working toward or moving toward. You've been building, manifesting, creating, co-creating. There's something that you've been giving some time to and or waiting on and or working on. You're really wanting for this to result, to come about, to come to fruition. The thing is, instead of focusing on that thing and sort of holding on tight and demanding that it be there, demanding that it come now, hoping, wishing, waiting, praying, it's like that's when we hold on really, really strong. And law of attraction wise, which I don't subscribe, by the way, to law of attraction and the way that it's typically taught. But obviously resistance, what we know about that in the law of attraction is that what we resist persists. And we also know that when we hold onto something really tightly and we're super attached to it, it's very difficult with that tight grip for it to come into our experience. Because what needs to happen for us to receive is to be able to open, to be able to relax, to step into a place of flexibility, openness, willingness. If you consider it this way, when it comes to relations with adult men and women as an example, although I'm going to use the genders here just because of the biological physical body. I'm like, how do I even say this? Errity, where are we going with this? I don't even know. I'm like, how do I say this in a way, because I have to keep it YouTube appropriate. So it's like two bodies come together in a particular way. And for the woman's side, and for it to work for her body, right, she has to be relaxed, she has to be open, she has to be willing, right? And clearly there would be consent and all that stuff if we're actually talking about that. But for now, I'm just saying there's this message of we have to be open to receive. We have to be open. We have to be relaxed. We can't hold on, white knuckling it, holding on for dear life, hoping and waiting and praying for something to come to us, because it's not going to happen. So it's like, even in the relations kind of analogy or example, if we're holding on this tight and we can't even let go and we're rigid, not only is it not enjoyable, things sometimes don't even work, and things certainly don't come to a particular climax, if you catch my drift. So it's like you have to be open, willing, receptive to receive. And so when you're holding on tight, when you're hoping, waiting, praying for this to happen, for this thing to come to fruition, for this thing to be realized, for it to come about, for the end to come, for the conclusion to be near, whatever it is that you're seeking, you are seeking a climax of some kind. You are waiting for something that maybe you've waited for a while or put in a lot of work toward. And when you're holding on that tight and like counting the seconds that pass by and like watching the pot of boiling water, the pot is going to take forever to boil, and or the climax will never come, right? So this is about, instead of getting into the habit of just waiting, like waiting for people to show up, waiting for the manifestation, waiting for the check, waiting for the clients, waiting for whatever it is that you've been waiting for or working toward, the recognition, the success. I feel like for some of you, it's conclusion, like you've been waiting for an answer. You're waiting to hear from someone. You're waiting for a court order, like you're waiting for something. Instead of like just holding on, you're going to just focus on your life. You're going to focus on your other priorities. You're going to focus on, right, the bare necessities kind of thing, where it's like, focus on the other things that are important in your life, like the bones of your life. Like, what are your routines? And if you don't, I think for some of you, the reason you might focus on this so much, this particular thing in your world, in your life, either right now, or it's something that is a pattern for you and you tend to hold on to this really tightly, I feel like it's because you haven't built up a lot of the other aspects of your life. Like we were talking about bare necessities, like the fundamentals of your life. What are the fundamentals of your life? So if you're giving all this attention to this one thing, it's more than likely because you haven't given attention to all these other things. So it's just like an easy place for your mind to find a focus, right? So it's like, as an example, we can focus on our loneliness instead of cultivating relationships. We can focus on our aloneness instead of cultivating community. We can focus on being single when we could go out there and start building connections. We can focus on not having money, or we can focus on making money. We can focus on that core order that hasn't come through yet that we're waiting on, when we can focus on going to our yoga class, cooking our kids' meals, and enjoying our lives, right? So it's like, where are you putting your focus, guard pile 3? What's most important for you is to focus on where you're putting, or to look at where you're putting your focus. Where are you placing your attention? What are you attending to? So instead of focusing on the thing and holding on for dear life and holding on tight and just waiting, hoping, praying, instead you're just going to let that go. You're going to shelve it, act like it's not even a thought as best you can. And it doesn't mean it's not going to pop up, especially if this is a habitual pattern for you. Especially if this is a habitual pattern for you. You want to release that to the best of your ability. And if that's too hard, like you're not fully ready to just give it all up and hand it over to God, put it on a shelf. Say, you know what? This is important to me. I feel best when I am holding this close, but I also don't want it to be my whole life and my sole focus. I'm just going to put it on a shelf. You can imagine yourself putting this little thing on a shelf, and you're like, okay, now I'm going to tend to my child, to dinner, to playtime, to my yoga class, to the fundamentals of my life. And so we talked about the different things you can focus on. Now here's the other thing too. It's like, generally we'll give something our focus when there's like a deficit in other areas, right? So we might focus on weight loss, but is our weight gain a result because of a deficit in our lives elsewhere? Does that make sense? So it's like, maybe you only have a weight gain because you don't have a lot of sweetness in your life. And so you're using sweets to sort of soothe the pain, right? So again, have you built up the fundamentals of your life? Do you have friends and family who love and care for you? Do you have weekly activities that you engage in for yourself and with others, with family members, if that's something that's important to you? Do you have time that you go out in nature and tend to your yard or your home? Do you have space in your life or in your world for your pets? It's like identifying the fundamentals of your life. You might even journal on that, get a list together, and then let that be your focus. Those are your focus. And it doesn't mean that you won't focus on the other thing, because maybe you need to focus on it. Maybe it has to do with work, or it's a project, or who knows what. And so it's not like it's something you can give up altogether, but it just means you're going to give up the mental and emotional focus. And instead, you're going to focus on the fundamentals of your life and building a life for yourself that you can attend to. Because if you only have one thing in your life that you're always holding on to, expecting, waiting for, wanting, first of all, your life is definitely going to be in a deficit. You're not going to feel joy. You're not going to feel fulfilled. And you're going to be just waiting and hoping and praying for this one thing to show up, because it's the one thing that fills your world. So it's like, create a life with the other fundamentals in place, and then that one thing really won't be that important, right? If you had everything else that you wanted, let's just say you had everything that you wanted in your life, but you were also waiting on this, that thing would not be so important now, would it? So you might even ask yourself, the thing that you're wanting to achieve, bring to fruition, have been working on or working toward for so long, or you just want that feeling of relief or whatever. You might ask yourself, what does it really represent for you? What is it that you're really seeking? What, at the deepest level, what is it that you want? And we've touched on this in the other card piles, and I am going to touch on it here. I don't feel like it's going to be at the same level as we dove in the other piles. So you can check those out if either one did land for you. But in terms of inner child work and connecting with the other parts of yourself, it's like going in and asking, what part of me, like, so when you feel anxious or want to hold on tight, you might ask where you feel it in your body. And then you're going to put a hand over that part of your body and see if you can tune in and connect in and build a relationship with that part of your body, which is also a part of you, which might very well be an inner child. And then you can get to know that part of you and see what it wants or what it needs or how it feels, so that it can be heard, it can be acknowledged, it can be seen, so that you can honor its needs, its wishes, its desires. This is you just building relationships with parts of you and bringing the subconscious into conscious awareness. And by doing this, you're going to support yourself to get clear on what those priorities are as well. There is something else here, so just give me a moment so I can connect with it. Okay, so that's right. So it was about connecting with yourself and saying, what, asking that part of you that's popping up and saying, what is it about this thing that I'm waiting for that I really actually want? What is it that you want most? What's underneath that? I know as the adult, I'm focusing so much on blank. What is it that you're seeking from this? And you might discover something. Clarity might come up, insight, revelation. It doesn't always happen right away, but the building of the relationship and the connection with yourself is the point. And then in the long run or the long term, the gain is greater awareness, insight, and clarity on all the parts of yourself, on your subconscious, on the things that it needs, wants, and desires. That way you can get clear on why you're holding on so tight to this thing. And once you're clear on that, you can also, not only will you know why, and so that's helpful, but you'll understand what the root actually is. So that way you can find other ways to support the inner child, i.e. yourself. And that way you won't have to hold on so tight to what it is that you're seeking, right? So if it's a relationship that you want so bad, or promotion that you want so bad, or a court order, or money, or whatever, ask yourself why and figure it out. I.e., go in, build that connection relationship with your inner child, see what they have to offer, and start finding ways to give to yourself in that way. Okay? So as an example, you might go in and ask, why am I so let's just say you're worried about a project taking off, or money, or something like that, because it's a really simple example most people can relate to. You're going to say, okay, where do I feel that angst, that tightness, that upset, or whatever in my body, that anger or bitterness or whatever. Okay, let's just say it's in your belly. You put your hand over your belly, and then you might sit there for a moment and get to know this part of you and see how it feels. And you might offer some words of acknowledgement or encouragement, but usually you'll want to get a little bit of information so you can offer the words that it truly wants to hear. Otherwise you're just sort of, a flash in the dark, hoping something sticks or lands. And it's like, maybe it just is bored. Literally, it could just be bored and sort of disinterested and apathetic, and it's looking for excitement or a thrill or whatever. So it focuses on money because that feels like, oh, it'll be thrill, I can buy myself something. And then you can say, oh, okay, so it's just looking for a thrill. Well, what's another way we can find a thrill? And then see what the child says or comes up with. Maybe it's going to the dollar store, or maybe it's something like, oh wait, we can just find a thrill by like going for a run outside, right? So there's ways to connect with yourself and nourish yourself in ways that aren't necessarily obvious or apparent at face value, but when you go in and you connect with yourself, it is clear, and you're able to start establishing those fundamentals with yourself, even without the thing that you think you want or need, or it needs to happen now. This is also going to help that manifestation come in much more easily and gracefully as you go. Yeah, so this is cool. You've prayed for help, so get out of the way and let heaven help you. Obstacles and blocks are lifted. Exactly. So for some of you who might resonate with this idea specifically, I would check out card pile 2, especially if you were deciding between the two. Although they're similar messages, they are different, but I'm just saying in the event of, because it feels like you're getting in your own way, right? This is about you getting in your own way. It's like you're the one who, you're holding on so tight, but that's what's blocking it, right? You're holding on so tight, but you might even have other fulfillment over here. You're telling yourself you're not fulfilled, but that's only because you're focusing on the one deficit in your life when you could focus on the surplus of your life. Where is there a surplus? And if you haven't developed the other areas and domains of your life, then start developing the other areas and domains of your life. And then that thing that you're so attached to won't be as important. And what does that one thing mean to you? Are you over-identifying with it, putting your self-worth in it? Oh, well, it hasn't kicked off, or it hasn't done well. Maybe it was a project, or the promotion hasn't happened. So then you make that mean something about you. So is this really actually just about your self-worth? Your belief in your own value? Some of you, it's because you've worked so hard and you want to pay off for your hard work. Well, ask yourself what you can do to pay yourself off without that. Maybe it's going on a vacation, maybe it's going on a road trip. So there's other ways to meet those needs that might not be that attached thing. So that way you can let some of the pressure off that thing, and it can come in easier, and you can just enjoy your life in the meantime. Yeah, have fun. It's like, do the work that's required of you. Yes. Whatever it's required. Let's just say this is a project or something. This could be something you've already finished or completed and it hasn't come to fruition. But for many of you, you might actively still be focused on it, working on it. It's like when it comes to manifestation, the message is, yeah, do the work, do the thing, do what's required in terms of what's in alignment. Because earlier we were talking about, we don't just go around scattering our energy like, we're doing all the things, focusing on what is fundamental to you, focus on what is important to you, focusing on building the bones of your life, so you have some structure and other things to turn to, other things that bring you fulfillment, so you can ease the pressure off this thing that you're seeking so much. And then the rest of it's playtime. The rest of it's enjoying your life. You focus so much on getting the thing, making this come to fruition, that you overthink, overwork, and overdo. And then you find that your life sort of feels empty or dry or sterile or mechanical. You're kind of just going through the motions. But again, it's because you put all your sole focus on this one thing, and you're running yourself ragged to get that thing, when you can just practice enjoying your life, meeting the needs in the ways that you can now, connecting with yourself, building those connections, nurturing those connections within yourself, and having freaking fun. Playtime. So if you feel like you worked your butt off and that's why you want this thing to work, to happen, okay, find some other ways to pay yourself off. There was something else too, another message that came through there. It was, if it is, you want, because I felt like the energy of wanting to be recognized. You're like, I put in a lot of work. I haven't been promoted. I haven't been recognized. I haven't gotten an email or a badge or whatever. It's like recognition. Ask how you might recognize yourself. And even better, go in and ask the parts of you that like might be in your heart, might be in your throat, might be in your belly, might be somewhere else. Part that you doesn't feel recognized, doesn't feel seen, and go ask how it wants to be seen and recognized. How can you do that for yourself for now? And begin practicing and getting the habit of that now, so it becomes a bigger habit later that also then becomes something that is reflected back to you in your everyday world, everyday life, everyday experience. Go in and ask how you can be recognized with yourself. How can you recognize yourself? And it's going to be hard too. If you're just coming from the mind, you might not get a clear answer that's true for you. You might have to go in and see what's there in your own body, in your own wellspring, from your own wellspring of wisdom, to really see how you can best be recognized. So you might go in and say, how would you like to be recognized? And maybe it's like, oh my gosh, wait, I just want to like go have fun and go to an improv class. Like I don't even have to be recognized in a formal way. And you're like, oh my gosh, all this time I could have just done that. So that's what I'm saying. You get these really random hits that have less to do with what you think it's all about, that big thing, the attachment, whatever you're waiting on. And it's much more about all this other stuff, bringing fulfillment to the other areas of your life, listening into those parts of you that might seek for something and are sort of projecting onto that one thing that you're waiting to happen, just shelving that for now, letting it be easy, letting it come to you, getting out of your own way, and letting yourself do what must be done in order to support this manifestation, but then letting go and letting yourself play. So that's what's most important for you right now, card pile 3. If this resonates, lands, do subscribe, like, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new video pops up. I'd love to hear from you. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, personal readings, check out erritygreen.com/shop, or you can find the link below. Last but not least, I do have 2 other YouTube channels. I'd love to see you subscribe over there and become a part of those communities: Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Television. Again, both are linked below. Thank you, card pile 3.